what does it really truly take to master something complex? Is it just grinding out the mechanics day after day, or is there something else? A deeper blend maybe of strategy and mindset.
Yeah, that mix that separates, steady growth from just hitting a wall again and again.
Exactly. And today we're actually diving deep into that very question using an unscripted poker coaching session as our lens. It's focused on tournament strategy, high stakes stuff.
But it's not really just about the cards, is it? It's about how you break down complex performance, spot those subtle patterns, and really unlock growth. I mean, this applies to pretty much any demanding field you can think of.
For sure. Our source material for this is it's this really interesting video. It's called Poker Coaching Session, Deep Dive into Tournament Hands and Statistics. It features a poker student, Titus, and his coach, Norman.
And our mission today really is to unpack all of that, the technical analysis, the stats work, and those really crucial psychological insights. All the stuff that shows you what real expertise in learning actually looks like. We're going to see how that mastery journey unfolds.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Right away, you see how a really serious learner, someone like Titus, approaches getting better. Starts with his toolkit, basically.
He's incredibly prepared.
Oh, yeah. I mean, get this. He's actually written his own book on poker. It's available in English and French.
Wow, okay, that's commitment.
Right. And it doesn't stop there. He uses these things called soul reader glasses.
Oh yeah, like those Kindle glasses for reading at night. Less eye strain, avoids blue light. Smart.
Exactly. Maximizing study time, He's even trying out new video conferencing software, Jitsi, for these sessions.
And the tech angle gets even cooler, actually. He uses a Logitech macro keypad, right? Scripting prompts using AutoHotkey for ChatGPT.
Yeah, like a custom AI assistant for instant analysis. It's a very, very modern approach to learning.
Totally. Shows he's leveraging every tool he can find. But what's fascinating is how Norman, the coach, jumps straight into the data. He walks Titus through his tournament history, pulling data from tracking software, Poker Tracker, Hold'em Manager, that kind of thing. But crucially, and this is key, it's grouped by pre-flop stack sizes.
Right. So how many big blinds he had before the flop came out? It's a measure of chip value, basically.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And starting there, with the hard data, it just cuts through any, subjective feelings about how things might be going. It points straight to specific trends.
Okay, so the numbers start telling a story. And what they showed about Titus's performance at different chip levels, well, it was pretty eye-opening.
Definitely some counterintuitive stuff in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like when he had a really short stack, between 5 and 10 big blinds, he was actually winning more chips.
Oh.
Strong performance. How does that work? Less chips, better results.
Yeah, it seems backwards, right?
Yeah.
But Norman's take was that players often call too tight against someone that short-stacked.
Meaning they fold too often.
Exactly. Which gives the short-stacked Titus, in this case, more fold equity. Opponents are just more likely to fold to his all-in shoves because, frankly, they don't want to risk their chips against someone with so little to lose.
Ah, okay, so he steals the pot more often without a showdown.
Right. It's interesting. Sometimes in life, too, when resources are scarce, being decisive and, aggressive can actually yield better results because others are maybe too cautious.
That makes a surprising amount of sense. But then the twist. His stack gets just a bit bigger, say 10 to 15 big blinds, and his win rate drops significantly. Why? Why would having more chips suddenly hurt him?
Well, Norman's theory, or speculation, was that at this specific stack size, opponents play much more optimally. They know the math, they know when to call all-ins correctly, like only with really strong hands, aces, big pairs.
So Titus loses that edge he had when he was shorter. They aren't folding easily anymore.
Exactly. The game just gets tougher because the competition adjusts and gets smarter, which, again, applies way beyond poker, right? As you gain resources or move up, competitors often get more sophisticated.
And it gets even weirder. When Titus had a deep stack, like 50, 75 big blinds or more, his results actually went negative. He was losing money.
Yeah, that points pretty strongly towards issues with his deep stack play, probably early in tournaments.
Like what? Making bad calls.
Could be losing chips with speculative hands, hands that need a lot of help, or maybe just taking unnecessary risks because, hey, he's got chips to burn, right? It feels less risky.
It does raise that big question. Why does having more sometimes lead to worse results?
It really highlights that different resource levels demand different strategies. A big company can get bogged down. A player with lots of chips can get careless. The immediate risk feels smaller.
Okay, so this is where the data gets even more granular, peeling back another layer. It's not just win or lose, but how good was his hand when the money went in? And how well did his bluffs work?
Right. So overall, his average all-in equity pre-flop was 63%.
Which sounds pretty good. Means his hand had a 63% chance of winning when he shoved before the flop.
It does sound good, but
Yeah.
here's the catch. In those deeper stack situations, his equity dropped quite a bit, down to around 49–50%.
Ah. So basically a coin flip or slightly worse one deep.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Implying he was getting it in worse post-flop, making those all-in moves after the flop, turn, or river when his hand was actually likely behind.
Okay.
And Norman flagged a specific concern. His turn and river all-in equity when he had 50–75 big blinds was really weak, like 30–40%.
Oof. That's not good.
No. It suggests he might be overcommitting on later streets when he's probably beaten, digging the hole deeper instead of cutting his losses, throwing good money after bad.
Gotcha. They also looked at his C-bet success, right? Continuation betting.
Yeah, that's when you raise pre-flop, then bet again on the flop, kind of continuing the aggression, often as a bluff if you missed.
Right. And Titus did that about 64% of the time, getting folds nearly half the time, 49% success on the flop.
Which is decent. But the data show that this fold success drops significantly with deeper stacks.
Ah, so bluffing is less effective against players who have lots of chips.
Exactly. And Norman used this great analogy. He said, it's like a 5-star hotel. If you're rich, spending $5,000 isn't much. But if you only have $5,000 total, you won't risk it.
Huh. That really paints a picture, doesn't it? Makes total sense, like deciding on a splurge. Unlimited funds. Sure, why not? Last $50, you're thinking twice.
Precisely. So the lesson is kind of universal. A calculated risk, like a bluff, works best when your opponent feels the pressure, often because their resources are limited relative to the bet. Against someone with deep pockets, less likely to work.
Understanding their risk tolerance tied to their resources, critical insight.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the data gave us the what, the patterns, the probabilities, but the real learning often happens in the how and why, the messy reality of specific decisions. So let's look at some actual hands Titus played, where the mistakes happened, where the lessons were learned.
Yeah, this is where theory meets practice.
Okay, first hand, Titus has pocket twos. He's in the small blind. 2 players before him just limped in, just called the minimum bet, and Titus calls 2.
Right. And Norman advised against that. He basically said, look, you've got no implied odds.
Meaning, even if he hits his miracle card, like a third 2, he won't win enough back to justify the initial call.
Pretty much. Especially because, as Norman pointed out, there was no stack with more than 30 big blinds to win against in that spot. The potential reward just wasn't big enough for the risk.
Context matters.
Got it.
Okay, next hand, pocket 6s. Titus races to 5 big blinds. Then after the flop, he continuation bets for another 5 big blinds.
And Norman questioned that bet size. He asked if maybe a smaller bet, say 3 big blinds, might have gotten the same folds. It's a lesson in bet sizing efficiency.
Right, like lean resource management, get the job done with minimum output. Don't waste chips if you don't have to.
Exactly, be efficient.
Okay, then there was pocket 5s. He raised, faced 2 all-ins, and folded.
Norman actually praised that fold, said it was a good fold. But he noted that the initial raise, which was 6 big blinds, might have been too risky in the first place because the opponents just weren't folding much.
So good discipline on the fold, but maybe rethink the initial aggression if people aren't respecting raises.
Something like that, adjusting to the table dynamic.
Hand 4, pocket 9s. 2 limpers again. Titus raises to 5 big blinds pre-flop. A player with a big stack calls him. Titus ends up losing a huge pot because the opponent slow played a monster hand. Sneaky.
Yeah, and Norman's takeaway was maybe better to avoid bloating a pot when out of position against large stacks.
Ah, position matters. Acting after your opponent gives you more info.
Huge difference. And if you're acting first and facing someone who can easily call you down because they have tons of chips, building a big pot is often just asking for trouble. Conserve resources when you're at a disadvantage.
Makes sense. Don't pick fights uphill. Okay, but he did have wins too. Hand 5. He made a straight against pocket aces. He raised with 9s, got called by aces, hit his straight, and won.
Yeah, Norman approved of Titus's play there. But he did critique the opponent's slow play with aces, saying it was too risky in a multi-way pot. Let others catch up for free.
Right. Then there was king-queen suited. Titus raised to 3 big blinds. Someone shoved for 9 big blinds, and Titus folded.
And Norman's critique was subtle but important. If you're going to raise to 3 PB there, you should probably be prepared to call the likely shove. He suggested maybe raising smaller, like 2BB instead, to give yourself more flexibility if you face aggression.
Interesting. Plan your move fully, including the likely responses.
Exactly. Think ahead.
And one last one, showcasing discipline again. Ace 7 suited, Titus has only 11 big blinds. He just folds it pre-flop.
And Norman praised that fold too. Said A7 suited just isn't strong enough to play versus aggression when you're that short. It showed good discipline.
Yeah, knowing when not to play is just as crucial.
Absolutely. Sometimes the best move is stepping back, preserving chips for a better spot.
Okay, so we've seen the numbers, the specific hands, but what about the mental side, the psychology? Because it's clear even good players wrestle with self-doubt. Titus mentioned it himself, right? Comparing himself to high-stakes YouTubers who seem to lose huge sums.
Yeah, he expressed that doubt. And Norman's reassurance was really powerful, I thought. He grounded it back in the data. Titus's stats are overall positive. That 3BB 100 rate, that is a win. It's profit. And he reminded him, everyone progresses level by level. It's not a smooth upward curve for anyone. And those long plateaus are normal, totally normal in any learning journey.
That's so important to hear, I think, for anyone learning anything hard.
Totally. And Norman even said their next step would be looking at time-filtered stats, comparing the last few months to the all-time data to really see the recent progress, validate it.
So proving that improvement is happening even if it feels slow.
Exactly. And Norman's closing wisdom really hit home for me. He said something like, level 1 might take a long time, but it's the cheapest level to learn from. The more expensive levels come later, so better to master this one now.
Wow. Yeah. Build that solid foundation now, because mistakes get costlier higher up.
It's not just poker, is it? It's mastering any complex skill. You have to embrace the curve, see plateaus as part of it, not failure.
Okay, so let's try and consolidate the big lessons here, the strategic stuff, the psychological stuff. That kind of applies universally from this deep dive.
All right. First off, when you're working with limited resources, your short stack moments, decisive, maybe even aggressive action can actually pay off because others might be too cautious, giving you that fold equity.
Right. But then, in the mid-stack zone, moderate resources.
Sure.
You got to be more careful, more adaptive. Your competition's probably playing sharper against you then.
Definitely. And with lots of resources, the deep stack, that carries its own risks. Complacency, overcommitting, a more conservative approach, careful selection, often makes sense. Don't squander the advantage.
And we saw calculated risks, like the C-bet, they work generally, but less so when your opponent has deep pockets and can just absorb the pressure.
And critically, resource allocation. Avoid those speculative plays when you're at a disadvantage, like being out of position. Know when to hold back.
And finally, the mental game. True mastery means embracing the learning curve, accepting plateaus are normal. Self-doubt happens, but check it against the facts, the stats of your effort. They might tell a better story.
Yeah, that psychological resilience is key.
So we've just taken this really fascinating deep dive, pulling out these nuggets from data, from specific hands, and from that crucial mental game aspect of mastering a skill.
And now maybe think about areas in your own life where you're trying to master something. Could be a hobby, a challenge at work, personal growth. Where's your deep stack maybe causing you to overcommit? Or where is your short stack actually a hidden strength because people underestimate you?
Yeah, and how often do you really look at your own stats? Not just what you do, but why you do it. And are you allowing for those plateaus, celebrating that level-by-level progress, even if level 1 takes a while?
It's worth taking a moment maybe, reflect on your own learning journey. Think about that value of honest self-assessment, and maybe even getting that impartial view from a coach or mentor.
Welcome. I'm gonna see my poker teacher in a couple of minutes, and I think we're gonna take a look at some charts. Before that, I want to show you my book. So this is the French version of my book, and there's also an English version of my book. And as you know, I enjoy my book a lot because I read it as much as I can, at least twice a day, sometimes more. And I think it's an awesome book. Now, I will show you how I read it. I use the Soul Reader glasses, which are like Kindle glasses, and they're nice for reading. And my book is on it. And all I have to do at night when I'm going to sleep or in the morning when I'm waking up is put on the glasses and I can keep on reading where I stopped. So this is really, really awesome. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that. Also, I'm trying this new Jitsi for video conference. And I never tried it before. So to see if it's better than Google Meet. Hello, sorry for making you wait and making it difficult, but I want to try this to see if it's any better.
Yes, let's try it.
You have to try difficult stuff in order to make life a little better. I have something which is cool. I can show you. Yeah, it is a small keypad from Logitech, and I can put all my apps, and I also can create scripts for AutoHotkey, so that some prompts that I use on a regular basis, it could generate them for me, and I don't have to make a copy paste all the time. And when it works, it's really, really awesome. But I'm trying to fix one prompt and I used 1 hour just to fix it. The prompt actually works. But the only thing is he doesn't have to put enter. If he puts enter, well, before the end of the prompt, ChatGPT will make several prompts out of it. And I don't want him to do that. I want only one prompt. So taking out an enter in a script, that shouldn't be so difficult. It should be easy. You just take out enter and leave the rest, But I encountered like 50 error message, and every time I try to fix it and it doesn't work. So I still have to try it in a different way. But it's a very stupid thing, and I seem unable to fix it. Personally, I cannot write any code, but ChatGPT writes code. So I try to do it with ChatGPT. That's very annoying, but that's life. What do you want to do today?
One thing I wanted to do was look in your poker tracker for your statistics with different stacks. So to see how you're doing 10 big blinds, 20, 30, 40, 50, just your overall statistics. And to see if there's a stack size you do better or worse at than some other.
Okay.
So click on View Stat. It's at the top, is View Stats. Okay, now click on My Reports. Now on the right, left, so click New Report. Did something open?
Yeah, it says Player Report, All Players, and Hand Report.
Click on Player Report and click Next.
How would you like your report grouped? Player, blinds, tourney, position, date, face in action, pre-flop, player, players pre-hand, street, bet size, street, 2 bet size, pre-flop, stack size.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now. I have no idea what you're doing, but I think we had a connection issue. It says good now.
Use pre-flop stack size.
You want pre-flop stack size, the last option.
Yes.
Okay.
And then click on Finish.
Yeah, I just did.
All right, so this is all the hands you have here with different stack sizes, and we see that the most common stack size in a turn is how many?
So most common, what is that?
The one with the most hands that has happened.
Okay, it's this one, 5 big blinds.
Yes, there's a lot of these are similar, but it looks like most often 5 to 10 big blinds, and then 10 to 15, then 50 to 75, which you start with. In the search, a new thing, and write in VPIP, and now open this preflop and choose VPIP, the second one. Double click it again. Okay, good. All right, let's start with this one, right? So it's ordered by different stack sizes. And so you see where it is from 50 to 75 big blinds. On the left-hand side, the stack size column. So somewhere there is 50 to 75. And how many hands is for this level? How many hands here is this?
5,765.
Okay. And now if you look at the next stack size, 75 to 100, it's this one. Why is there so much fewer hands for more than 75 big blinds?
I don't know. If it's how much big blinds I have, well, I normally don't have much more than 75 big blinds. So maybe that's why.
Yes, because you start with 75. So unless you win some big pot early, but even then blinds might go up. That's why most of the hands are below that. And now next to the hands column, where it is right now, you're hovering close to this 1851, is all in adjusted big blinds per 100. So this is basically your results in how many big blinds you would win in 100 for different stack sizes. And only 2 of these are negative. And for what stack size?
For the big stack sizes, 50 and 75.
Yes, I would in general say from 50 to 100, right?
Yeah.
So it's something for us to work on in this sense, to realize that early on in a tournament, looks like you're losing more chips on average than winning. Early on is also when the biggest pot happen, right? So in one pot, you could win 70 big blinds or lose 70 big blinds. But overall, this has been a problem area.
Yeah, but Norman, the thing is, you don't want me to take risk. If you want me to win a lot of big blinds at the beginning, I will have to take risk. But if I take risk, I can be eliminated in position 8 or 7. So if you don't want me to take risk, then I have to be very prudent and fold a lot of hands. And that's why I'm losing more money than I make.
Yeah, I might have some more ideas to figure this out where it's not going so well. But the thing is, if you folded every hand in these early levels, you folded every hand, yeah, well, then you would lose something like, what is it? I think something like 20 big blinds per 100. So in that sense, you are doing better. And you could say yes, that, but still it's a bit, well, it's still, there's really no reason for it to be negative, even if you're cautious. Yeah, don't take it as a bad thing. It's kind of to do what hands I would like to review. And it looks like these first hands in a tournament seem the hands that I'd be interested to review more.
Okay.
If we look at, for example, even heads up, when you have 5 big blinds, 10 big blinds, then your results are positive. Although it's interesting that you see from 5 to 10 big blinds, your win rate, this is 2 to 5. From 5 to 10 is 3.8, but from 10 to 15, it's 0.47. My guess would be that if you go all in for 15 big blinds, most people know how to fold and call correct. But if you go all in 7 big blinds, people probably fold too much. And that's also what happens heads up. So I would say if you have 10 to 15 big blinds, be cautious when you go all in. Because probably the other players won't make a mistake that time. That's my read on that situation.
So you think they won't make a mistake when they have 15 big blinds, but when they are below 6 big blinds, then they will start making mistakes because they are more under pressure.
Yeah, here even looks like under 10 big blinds, but there's 6, 7, 4, 5. People are, I would guess, too tight in these scenarios. But for 10, 15, it's like people usually know to call with an ace or a pocket pair. So it's this range where they played correctly. You see for 30, 40, they also, you're winning good there. So probably if you go all in for 30, 40, other people are being too loose. If you have 6 big blinds, people are being too tight. But there in the middle, somewhere 10 to 15, looks like people are more or less not too loose, not too tight. So maybe all in isn't the best move there because people have studied it the most. Okay, I mean, otherwise it's good, right? It's overall positive in terms of big blinds.
Yeah, but the thing is, they have studied 10 to 15 big blinds. That's a little strange to me because no, I think they are just more prudent. And because they still have 10 or 15 big blinds left, so they don't want to take too much risk. But when they have 5 to 10, they start taking more risk and then I make more money. I think that's the explanation.
Yeah, it could be like that. I mean, another way I would say it is if someone just calls, let's say, ace 10 and pocket pairs, then there is going to be some big blind amount when it's correct. So someone does it for 40 big blinds, they make a big mistake if they call pocket threes. They do it the same move when they have 10 big blinds and it's okay. Or if they have 3 big blinds, then they should call way more than that. So I think it's also the case of people like to do certain things and then there's gonna happen a time when it happens to be accurate. If that makes some sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But the thing is, it is a low. So I tell myself they can still fold when they have 10 to 15 big blinds, but they don't think maybe, it's the opposite. I don't know, but it's strange. Okay. Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah, for sure. Let's look at, so in the search bar again, where you wrote, can you write AV like the AG, not J, G, and now click the average all-in equity. Let me think which one. Flop? No, let's take pre-flop. Let's take the third one. And this is your winning chance when you get all in. And we see that if you're all in for 75 big blinds and more, you have 60% to win there. Yeah. Now on the very right-hand side is this new column added. And we see you had on average 63% to win. And yeah, I don't see anything special for 10 to 15 big blinds here, right? It's 50% there. But so here's how I understand it. You see, for 5 to 10 big blinds, where your results are much better, 1 line higher. Actually, yeah, that was 2 lines higher. This one, yes. We see that you actually are only a 49% favorite on average all in, whereas for 10 to 15, you're 50%. So in this way, it looks like, well, why it should be better than for 10 to 15 if you have more chance of winning when you're all. But to me, the problem is it's how often they fold. And you make a lot of chips by people folding. And I think the issue here is if they have 6 big blinds, they fold and it's a big win for you. If you win 1.5 big blinds and you have 6. So yeah, I do think this way that actually you win more because they're too cautious going all in with less big blinds.
Yeah, I think you're right on that one.
Okay, one last, and choose the c-bet flop success, and also choose c-bet flop the first time. All right, so for you, it looks like on average you bet 64% on flop, and they're folding around 49%. And one thing we can observe here is if you start from 100 to 125 bigs, so start from the row, that's 100, 125. And then look at the last 2 numbers. So first one is how successful it is in a percentage. And second one is how often you do. And you see that in this stack, there's not too many hands, but if you go 1 line higher, that's 75 to 100 higher, the other side, and one line higher from this, it's 45%. So this is where you start the tournament when you have or above that. And you see that as the stacks in general get shorter, as you move here up line by line, yeah, you're looking at your percentages. These are quite consistent. You bet pretty much similarly on flops. But if you look at these numbers here of how often it's successful, the higher number it is, that means the more they fold. And I think the last 2, don't look at the 60 and 48 at the top, because that is less than, yeah, these ones are empty because you're all in before flop. And even the 60 and 48, I wouldn't look at those because usually you're not on the flop for 10 big blinds. You're also all. So start looking from the number, this one exactly, where you have more than 15 big. And as you now go down here, you see that the success rate gets lower and lower. So that means the more chips people have, the less likely they will fold to you on the flop. That makes some sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because they think they can afford to pay the big blinds I put on the table since they have some big blinds. When you have less big blinds, you start being more hesitant. It's like if you are rich, okay, and you see a 5-star hotel, and the suite costs you 5K a night. But if you're very wealthy, that doesn't matter. But if you only have 5K on your bank account, well, you're not going to spend it on an accommodation for 1 night, you know? So you take less risk. You spend less money when you have less.
Yes, but what does it mean in terms of your ability to bluff players or make them fold? You have a top pair, but there's many straight draws and flush draws, and you try to protect your hand in the flop.
It means they are calling stations. They won't fold.
Right, which also means that should we try to make them fold when we have a lot of big blinds?
If I don't make continuation bets on the flop, it won't be good. If I'm the aggressor, I should make a continuation bet. I know that
even if they won't fold.
It's not like everything is red. The only thing where I'm red is here, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yes, these are a bit different numbers that we're comparing here. I guess in general, my point is that you should be aware that if you have deeper stacks, then it's less likely they will fold. It's just that, all right?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. But there's not much I can adapt with my play because if I risk less, it won't work. And if I risk more, it won't be my favor too because they probably pay this. They probably will put will call 3 big blinds or 6 big blinds or even 9 big blinds if they are big stacked. Maybe 9 not. But I cannot do all the time a 5x, so that would be too much. So yeah, I don't think there's much I can change in my play. But okay, I take note. When they are deep stuck, they don't want to fold.
Well, they want to fold less often. Let's say it like this. So let's search one last thing, and then we're done for the stats today. Can you search all, then the line? I'm not sure how to call the line, and then in. Okay, and it already displays you some stats there. And we want to click on average all-in equity on the flop. So the one with an F. There's like an F for flop there. Average all-in equity F, which is for flop. Yeah, let's add that one. Then let's also scroll down a little bit and add the turn and river as well. So there should be a T if you scroll down. Yeah, click on the T. And now also click on the R for river, right? And let's start by the 50-75 big blinds.
Norman, I don't get it. Because if I press turn, it shows me turn. If I press on river, it shows me river. And if I press on flop, it shows me flop. So why do you say we add them all up? Because I don't think we can do that.
Oh, they are all in the table now, actually. The
In what
three
table?
numbers at the right are now the stats you added. So there's 3 new numbers on the right-hand side of this table. It already worked. You see, you can read from the top of the table. It says average river all-in equity.
Okay, so it's average
Pre-flop. Yeah, we added that before, but now the 3 last columns. Flop all-in, turn all-in, and river.
Okay, thank you, Norman. Thank you.
So you're welcome. So with pre-flop, we already looked at pre-flop stats, and pretty much your pre-flop all-ins were good, right? You were all in pre-flop. You had more than 50% in almost all of them, other than like 5 big blinds, which is fine. You were also close. So with your pre-flop stats, I was quite happy with it. And now let's look at the flop stat. And so it's average F all-in equity is the flop one. And I wanted to start from 50 to 75 big blinds. So it's where it says 55-31. So this is again positive. So it looks like deeper stacked on the flop when you get all in. You've done well. That if you have 70, 50, 100 big blinds and it goes all in on the flop, then you usually have 50, 60% to win. So again, I think these numbers look quite good to me. If we look at the turn for 50 and 75, and this one, yes. This one I want to concentrate on because there's a lot of hands for this, right? So it's more than 5,000 hands in this scenario. And we've seen on average, you've had 30% when you've been all in. For 40 to 50 big blinds, you've had 40%. And if we look at the river all-ins, well, what to make of all of this? Yeah, just a note. I mean, maybe it's not an issue. Maybe it's really just the hands that have happened like this. It's possible. What if you right click on that number 3147? Does it give you any options for
refresh, change active player, export report?
Okay. Yeah, then not really this way. We'd have to do a new report. Yeah, you can try double clicking on it, but I don't think that's the one either.
No, it does nothing.
Yeah, that's all right. That's from a different place where we could look at that. I mean, on average, so the average numbers you see at the bottom of this table. You see these black numbers at the bottom. Yeah, so this is chips, hands. The next one is all-in adjusted. So luck adjusted, big blinds per 100 hands. Then 371 is big blinds per 100 hands you've won, which those are your overall results, I would say, which are good. Then your VPIP stat on average 24%. Then your pre-flop all-in percent, which is 50 on average. Then your overall bet success 48%. Then your flop continuation bet success. Oh, sorry. The 48 was flop continuation bet success, and the 64 is how often you do it. 63.85. And then these last 3 numbers, 51, 50, and 50, are your winning chances if you're all in on flop, turn, and river. So they seem quite evenly and nicely. But I did notice that for 50 to 75, the line we're on right now, that both the turn and the river, and there's a lot of hands in this section, that the turn and river all in numbers 31 and 42 are on the lower end there. Flop one fine, but turn and river, yeah, have to be cautious going all in with a lot of chips, but that's all right. Okay, I got some ideas, and I guess the main takeaway for me is to look at more deeper stacked hands, and then I'll try to generate some ideas for the future if we can dig even deeper to your statistics. But overall, they look nice. Do you have any hands you'd like to review today?
I have some hands, yeah.
All right, let's take a breath and review those hands then. Yeah, you want to click on results here above this table. You can, there's this thing, no. Yeah, well, or like this. That's good. Oh, one hand.
There should be more.
Perfect.
No, what's perfect?
I don't know. Oh, the buy-in, right? You see, you accidentally clicked the buy-in. You have to clear that. All right, now it's loading. And now it also just unlocked hands. Now I think it's fine, right?
Yeah, now it works. Thank you, Norman. You fixed it. Well done. So
teamwork makes the dream work.
yeah, that's nice. So how do I select? Well, let me just select all of them, because I don't know if you look at just one or more. So we play hands, and now let me share the screen. You did put your video off, huh? But that you did on purpose. It's all right.
So some internet issues. I can turn it back on.
No. I won't see you because I'm watching only at my screen with my hand, so I won't see you. It just I wanted to let you know.
Okay, yeah. When we're having a normal talk, then I'll turn it back on. All right?
Yeah, sure, that's smart, yeah. Especially if you have an internet issues.
All right, let's see how this hand went.
You know what is different from the other stuff we used, the Google Meet, is that your audio is actually better right now.
Oh.
It is more strong. Before, Google Meet did modify your audio and it put it down. But now I hear you better than before.
That's good to hear. I like it.
Yeah, well, it's good and it's not good because now you did touch your microphone and I hear that much more. And in the past, I didn't hear it so much. So, but I like it more like this. Yeah, your voice is more strong. Okay, so I'm calling and I do that because I'm on the small blind.
Yeah, actually, I would have folded this hand. You might be surprised here. We have to call 2 more big blinds. In a way, we have many big blinds, but we're actually first place, right? That means the other players don't have so many big blinds. And I don't know if I've said it to, there's this rule of small pocket pairs that you'd like the reward to be something around 15 times of what you're risking. So if you're risking 2 big blinds, what is 15 times that? However, there is no player here with 30 big blinds, and even you have a little less than 30. So over the long run, probably we're not gonna hit a deuce on the flop often enough. And even if we do, the reward won't be 40, 50, 60, something nice, or even 30. It will only be 12 big blinds or 18. So I would have folded this. You could also consider going all in, but I think it's a bit too risky. That I don't think it's very likely all of them would fold. So for that reason, I would have just folded this. I don't think it's a big mistake. It's just 2 big blinds and you can afford it. But I think it's a little bit too much. If they would have asked for 1 big blind, then I would have continued. But for 2, I would fold this.
Yeah, I understand. It's not worth the risk I'm taking because I cannot make enough money. Okay, thank you, Norman.
A good hand if your upside could be like a big number, yes.
So I don't think I should bluff because the board is quite scary and I have not a strong pair, so I just check. No, I actually fold. Why do I fold? Because he went all in.
Yeah, I have no comments on this. I think that was well done.
Okay, thank you. Now pocket sixes. I go for 2 big blinds. I have 1 caller. He checks.
All right, you go for 5. So you really want him to fold here. I get that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. And 6s is a good hand. But what I think here is, do we really need to go so large to make him fold? I guess you think otherwise you will call with an ace or something stupid. Right? So I can see you're thinking, I mean, it's obviously not bad, right? I mean, we probably have the best hand, we make him fold. I think it's okay. What comes to my mind is, was it really necessary to risk 5? Maybe we can bet 3 here and also make him fold. Do we really have to go 5? 5 seems a little excessive to me.
So 3 cards.
I think it would fold out mostly same hands like this 5. Maybe he'll be a little more loose against 3, but you would also risk less when you bet 3. So yeah, and I guess the issue here is if he doesn't fold, then we're out of this hand. So yeah, I think I can see some reasons for it. Just to me, maybe it was a little too much. I think you could make him fold for less, but it went well. So I guess that's the good part about it.
Okay, thank you. You know, my casino changed the shortcuts and it's harder for me. I make more mistakes because the only way to use it now is to use my mouse, and sometimes I press the wrong button. Well, because the shortcuts on my mouse work, but everything else doesn't work anymore. They took every keyboard shortcut out and now it's painful. So I make more mistakes. Maybe that's why I did put 5 big blinds instead doing 2/3 of the pot.
Okay, yeah. Wow, this hand really took a crazy turn here. Yeah, if you go 6, would you have called this small blind folded?
Yeah, probably I should, because I'm only risking 3 more.
Yes, exactly. But now once small blind calls, maybe you're worried to risk a lot more than just this. But it is weird, right? To go 6 big blinds and then to fold for 3 more. It's a bit unusual how this hand happened here.
Yeah, but the thing is, they both show a lot of strength and I only have 5. So should I really face an all-in with them, with my pocket 5s? I think there's a lot that can... There's a lot that...
It makes a lot of sense, right? So
there's a lot that can beat pocket 5s.
You're right. Yeah, actually, I don't mind this so much now that I think it's, what could we do differently? So can we go back to before you made it 6? I think this folds.
Even with 1, it is very risky. Because look, normally player 8 should have folded. But even that, facing just player 5, that's still very risky. Then I should call because it's only 3 big blinds more and maybe I get a 5 on the flop.
Then you have to call because he might have ace king or something and he only had 9 big blinds. Yes, but can you click a few clicks back before he made this move? Here, no. Small blind calls here, exactly. So firstly, we could call, and the big reason is we have a lot of chips against the small blind. We could also consider making the raise like you did. The thing is, do you all ever think player 5 will fold? How likely you think player 5 folding?
If I make what away? I did that, no?
Yeah, but do you do it with the intention of player 5 folding?
I don't know who folds, but I hope that at least one of them folds.
Okay. Yeah, it's already player 5 put in a lot of his chips, right? 2 big blinds was a lot from his 7. But I guess the good thing is if you get player 8 out, it just looks like you want to be all in against player 5. That's what it looks like to me, right?
Yeah. Is that smart being all in against player 5? Well, it depends what kind of hands. He only put 2 big blinds. That's not a lot of strength, so he might not have a great hand, and with me going for 6 big blind, he might just fold.
Yes, I think that would be ideal if he would fold, and I guess even if he has something, 5s has a pretty good chance. So
if I lose, I'm not out of the tournament.
That's also true. That's true, yes. The issue I see is even if he has whatever, it's almost never worse than 5s, right? Even if he has... You could give him 10-9, and 10-9 is as good as 5s. You're only a favorite if he has like ace-3 or ace-5 or has something like pocket 3s. But other than that, he might have king-10, he might have ace-10. You're always 50-50 then. And if he has a higher pair, which he could, then you're in very big trouble. So I'm not sure all-in is so favorable. I only like this move if you think he can fold. So if he's a loose player and you think you can make him fold, well, in any case, they didn't fold this time, and you folding later, I think is fine. Can we see the end of the hand? What hands they did? Yeah, king 10 and player 8 had 7. So actually you see here, you did the correct play. I am aware you would have made a full house, but you were in big trouble against 7s. And that's what I mean, raising there is risky. That he had king 10, not a very good hand. but he wasn't planning to fold it. And then you're just in a big gamble for him. And I don't think you need that. Like, you were in a good spot in a tournament. I think it's like getting into an unnecessary 50-50 gamble.
So are you saying that my decision to make 5x is bad?
Well,
because
it's
you don't want me to fold.
yes, you can call one big blind for sure. You can make the 15 times 15 big blinds. I don't want you to fold here. You're correct about this. I would only want you to raise here if you expect both of them to fold. But I'm not so sure how likely it is. And maybe to raise to 6 is also not enough. Maybe it looks too weak to them. Maybe you should have raised more than this. Although in this case, it would probably not change much. But I guess if you really believe they will both fold, then I like this play. For me, I'm not very certain that would happen.
Yeah, in my brain, I'm just telling myself facing one opponent is better than 2. But maybe I should have just called it and play it safe. You're right. Okay, do we look at the next hand or do we quit?
No, we can look.
Pocket 9s.
Okay, so far so good. And if player 3 or 4 go all in, we should call. Let's hope player 8 fold. He doesn't. And you see, this is it's not like you did something bad here, but it's really not nice if we raise and the other player has so many chips like player 8. Because right now we're second place and it's a very big problem for us here if we're gonna lose a big pot against player 8. I know there's 6 players left, but you're very comfortably second place. Looks like you have almost guaranteed top 3. And now if we get in a big gamble, that's not so nice. So it's maybe a little stupid to say, but maybe we shouldn't even try to raise 5 against player 8.
Because he's so big stacked. He's so much ahead of us.
And will he really fold? I don't think he'll want to fold. He already showed he didn't want to fold. He already called. So will this scare him away? And it's a way bigger risk for us, these 5 big blinds. But
they showed very little aggression. They only limped. I thought with those guys limping, I can get at least 1 fold. And then I feel better with my 9s if I'm facing only 1 guy instead of 2.
I'm happy to face both player 3 and player 4, but I don't want to face player 8 in a big pot. That's my thinking. Player 3 and 4 doesn't concern me too much. It's the player 8 who, I know he didn't show aggression, but will he fold? That's he can be not aggressive and still not fold. And the overall dynamic here is, we don't want a big pot against player 8. And if you have 70 big blinds, then it's more fine to raise 5. But you had 30 now to raise 5. It's a lot of chips. So maybe here I would have only raised 2 or 3 big blinds.
Okay, you're telling me to be prudent again. Thank you.
For the player 8 reason, yes.
Yeah.
And on this flop, I hope you don't bet. Let's see what to do. Yeah, I would check here. I like that. That's good. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we're priced in to call. We have 4, 8, 2 9s, 6 cards, 12%. I mean, it's close. We could have the best hand. I think you should call this. Okay, not a great river. They both check. Yeah, I mean, what can we do here? Should we go for a crazy bluff? I'm not sure here. Player 4 likely won't fold. Yeah, I think we'll show our 9s here and hope for good sometimes. Oh, he made a straight on the river. All right. And player 8, will we see what he had also?
No, we don't.
All right. They just mocked their cards. Yeah, he was tricky on the river, right? He made a straight and didn't bet. So yeah, I guess this didn't go too badly. I like your post-flop decisions. I mean, I think it's an okay hand. I don't think it's a big problem.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts on this hand?
I'm thinking. No, I don't have any thoughts. Yeah, he's a sneaky player. And I wonder why he was sneaky. Because he thought that if he bets, we would all fold. So he hoped that one of us would bet with a jack, 10 or an 8, and that then he would make more money. Then he would probably, then he would be all in. But he was scared that one of us, that we would all fold. And that's why he was sneaky.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also, maybe he was afraid of the flush there.
Yeah, he could have been afraid of the flush too. Yeah, you're correct. Yeah.
Okay, good.
One more.
Yeah, so here's what's key. There's a lot of chips in the middle, already 9 big blinds. If we win that, we win like 25% to our stack. And I'm not really worried if the players with 20 big blinds, even if they call or fold, I would make a big raise here.
But there's player 8 and he's big stacked.
I see that, and I would really hope player 8 would fold. But does player 8 really have better than 9? I don't think so. But yes, I am worried of player 8, but I'm hoping player 8 folds. And you do a big raise. Okay, and player 8 folds. So this is a little similar to when you had 5s. The difference is 9s is much stronger than 5s. So actually, I think this is a good outcome. I mean, it would have been better if everyone folded, but this is also okay. And obviously now you have to call, and let's hope he has just a no pair or a no. Wow, he was very sneaky and you got lucky there. But he was also lucky to have aces. I really like how you played.
Yeah, because I made a straight, I did win.
Yeah, but even if you lose this hand, I like how you played it.
I was very lucky.
He was lucky to have aces and for his trick to work this time. But I really like how you played.
Yeah, his trick was going only for 2 big blinds instead of showing some aggression. I think I would have gone for 5x instead of playing it sneaky.
Yes, because the risk is, what if you didn't have 9s? Let's say you just have 9-8, then you call, and he would see the flop against 4 opponents. And then someone could have made 2 pairs, trips, and beat his ace.
Yeah, that's why I don't like being a sneaky player, because it's too dangerous. Especially if there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people in the pot. High chance that one of them makes a straight or a flush and beats my pocket aces.
Well, free flop for us, good. And you could go all in, but there's no need to go all in. He's never folding. So yes, let's just see the flop. Will he ever fold here? I don't think so. So I'm not sure he should bet. You see, he doesn't fold. He probably has nothing. Well, he had 3s. I know it doesn't seem too important, but I would not bet this fold.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's so many people left, And so
I know that.
If I fold, it's just very bad. And he has 13. Maybe he's prudent and he says, let's keep my 13. I'm close to the bubble. Let's keep my 13, not risk 2 big blinds more. 1.7 more.
I know, but let's go all in next hand. I don't think this is a good hand for you to go all in.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Okay, I think we have nearly done all my hands, which is nice because then I can get rid of them and I can show you some new ones next week.
Yeah. Wow. You know what I think about calling all ins? So first off, you could have gone all in first. You decide to be on the safer side and just raise, but you did go for a bigger raise, right? But now you want to call an all in. King, queen's nice. How do I feel about this? If you click to the end, we see what pot odds you have there. So click until the end. No, not the end of the hand, but when the decision is on you. He went all in, everyone else fold. Click forward when the big blind has folded. All right, so yeah, you need 34%. If he has any pair lower than a queen, then you're 50-50. Even if he has an ace, probably have 40%, unless he has ace king or ace queen. But I do think he has a strong hand. He went all in after you raised. I think he has likely ace 10 or a high pair. Yeah. Could you fold this? Well, what I would do here is I would have raised 2 big blinds and then I would have folded. But when you go 3, and you fold for 9 more. Yeah, but I'm not surprised he had ace queen. He's gonna have a good hand here often. So I'm not a big fan of this hand, if I'm honest.
But I could have made a flush. I was my chances weren't so good, but I put 3.
Well, first, why put 3? Why is it necessary?
Yeah, okay, 2. Let's say I put 2. Then I still have to fold. Queen, king suited. And yeah, there's still a lot of people left. So should I not risk it with queen, king suited when
you will get a better chance when there's less people left, I think. And he has a better hand than king, queen here, right? He won't do it with king, jack. So
you're correct. Okay, I like that argument, Norman. Thank you. And this is my last hand. So let's see, a7 suited.
Yeah, I think it's sensible. I don't think they would both fold, especially player 5. He has so many big blinds. And you can't really call if you have 70 big blinds, you can call here. But for 11, you really have to be waiting for your moment to strike with 11 big blinds. So I like how you played this hand well. You could have called and it would have been a mistake. You could have gone all in. And I also think it would have been a mistake. So I think you chose the best option with ace-7.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Norman. The thing is, I feel sometimes disappointed. I do get the idea that I'm not good enough. You know, the guy I talked about who is always losing all his money he makes on YouTube while playing poker. In his last video, I didn't watch it all because, well, I'm not too interested in actually what he does. But the thing is, he's complaining. He's saying that he's playing at high stacks and that actually he hasn't deserved it because he's not good enough to play at high stacks, you know? And it hurts him psychologically. He says, I do stupid things because I don't think I'm good enough. And he's probably right. He probably didn't put in enough work to play at those stacks. He is just not good enough. Right now, if he keeps playing, he just loses money as it is until now. And the thing is, you know, sometimes I feel the same. Even if I'm above break even, I still feel the same because I haven't managed it to level 2. And little things are very annoying. Like, for example, that all my shortcuts on my keyboard are gone. So sometimes it's hard to find the motivation to keep on going. But actually, I'm not doing so bad. When we looked at my statistic, it wasn't that bad. And what you told me about my play was also quite good. So there's no reason to totally be in despair and think you'll never make it to anything meaningful, you know?
Yes.
I shouldn't have a too high ego because it will only hurt. If I start risking too much, it will only hurt. I'm not good enough. The guy is much better than I will ever be, and he still only loses money. So I should be very, very prudent. But I should not give up, you know? I should keep doing my best to improve and playing as much tournament as I can every day. And right now I'm not doing that, but I hope I'll get back to it in the future.
Yeah, I think there's positive signs, and yeah, I have some ideas also, areas to find you can even get better as well. But already it's good, right? Already, if we look at big blinds per 100, every stack size almost was all green, 10 big blinds, 20, 30, 45 big blinds. There are also good signs, yes. The difficulties in poker, sometimes it can feel a long time to get through those levels. But it depends. Sometimes, you know, in my experience, it can be that one level takes very long and then next few levels can sometimes go much quicker. So it's, in some sense, it's fine if first level takes long. That's also the cheapest learning level, right? So it's the best spot to struggle in a way, and to get your lesson than to learn when it gets very costly and very tough, and then you learn your mistakes. So I also learn poker through this way, level by level. And if I wanted to play some new poker format, which I've never played before, like some 7-card stud or RAS or all these poker variants that there are, I would also start with some low level and show that I can do well there and then on that. So I think that's the best approach. And what we didn't do, we'll do it next time, is to look at the big blinds you won, but filter by date. So we'll do that next time, and we'll do a quicker stats review, but just filter your last 3 months, last year. And my guess would be that if we look at your expected results, and even though overall you're winning 3 big blinds per 100, then the past whatever period, it's better than the overall results. So sometimes, well, yeah, it's like...
Okay, great, Norman. It was very interesting. Thanks a lot. I like, for example, how it looks now, because before it was you very big and me very small on the corner. And I like that we have the same space on screen. So I'll think about if I want to keep this one or if I go back. But if I say nothing, we can meet on T again next time. This is open source, so I think the code is much better. There's less spying and so on. So I think it might be a better solution. I'll still think about it, but if I say nothing, let's try it again next time. Okay? Thanks a lot, Norman. You're great, and I really enjoyed meeting you today. I'm showing you I'm waving.
Bye, Titus.
Bye.